It was an absolute dream in that way. Feeling my body in this costume, but it like suits me now.
Hey fam, it's me, Imara. Welcome to the Translash Podcast, a show where we tell trans stories to save trans lives. Well, today I'm so excited to be joined by Elliot Page, who is starring in The Odyssey, one of the most anticipated films of the summer. Now, I'm really looking forward to this conversation because I've loved The Odyssey since 6th grade. Yeah, I was one of those kids, a nerd. And I also really admire Elliot. So this conversation is going to be a lot of fun. Now, Elliot is, of course, an actor who you may know from Inception, Juno, Close to You, The Umbrella Academy, and the list goes on across TV and film. You may also have read his best-selling memoir, Page Boy. Elliot recently also produced a nature documentary called Second Nature, which is about queerness and gender fluidity in the animal world. So clearly, there's a lot for us to talk about. Elliot, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Super happy to see you.
You too.
First off, what made you want to be a part of the Odyssey, besides Christopher Nolan, who you love working with, but like this story that, is about what happens to victors after, an apocalyptic war. Like, why did you want to be a part of the Odyssey?
Gosh, well, first and foremost, I was just so excited that Chris, was bringing up the possibility of us working together again. And then to learn that it was the Odyssey and to get to be a part of, this telling of this epic ancient tale, where so many of the themes are still resonant today. And then learning more about how Chris was approaching it and this character that I was lucky enough to get to play really brought in kind of exactly what you're talking about in showing the impacts of war, the loss of war, the brutality of it, and just like you said, what's left even if you are the victor. So that approach and getting to play the specific character was really exciting to me.
So wait, you said that you spoke to him and then you found out it was the Odyssey. Like, did he just call you and be like, hey, I got a movie, you want to be on it? And then you're like, sure. And then you're like, what is it? And then he tells you, or did...
It was similar to actually the casting of Inception, which was knowing that Chris wanted to meet to talk about a potential part in something, going and sitting down with Chris, then hearing what it is and being like,
okay.
OMG, that's what you're doing. And then sitting in a room and reading the script. And that it was the same process with Inception as well, because of course he's very secretive and protective of the work. So yeah, that's sort of the process.
I mean, one of the things about your character is that in a part, he's responsible for a genocide or participating in a genocide. I'm wondering what stays with you about playing someone like that. Like
this, with this character, and I think in the difference between how Sinan originally appears in Greek mythology and a sort of trickery in his knowing what he's doing. In this situation, my character does not know that these men are in this horse. And so in the confrontation with Odysseus in Hades in that scene, he's confronting him with like, how could you lie to me? And I sacrificed myself for you and for this, and how could you lie to me? And all these people behind me are the people that have died for you and your mission. So I think, the character of Sinan is carrying this horrible weight, of course, and regret of being a part of this, as well as was in many ways, used and himself tricked into this situation.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, it's so relevant for the world right now because, if you're willing to burn the world in order to save it, what's left? I mean, that's kind of what ends up happening with Odysseus and the Greeks that win over the Trojans, right? Like, it's like the reason why people, even if you don't care anything about antiquity, like it's such a relevant topic for now.
Yes, it's people who are policing the world on some level, and are causing, utter horror and brutality, and the impacts of that.
So how does it feel to be a trans actor who gets to play someone who most likely from the text is not trans, we don't know, but a person who is a warrior? I mean, we don't see many trans people who have the opportunity to play such a role.
Yeah, I mean, it was an absolute dream in that way. And even just like putting on this costume and, getting to feel in my body in this, like a costume, but it like suits me now,
Right. Right. That's right.
Yeah. Like that was just so thrilling, and walking out onto the set and getting to play this character. And I feel honestly grateful for Chris for trusting me with it and having me be a part of it. And yeah, I had a great experience.
Everything dealing with trans people is so fraught right now. Did you have any reservations about being a part of what you knew was going to be a blockbuster film and the possibility that it was going to put you back in the public given the charged moment? Like, you're going to have to do a press tour. You're going to have to do, you know what I mean? Like, was there ever hesitation? Was like, I really want to do this, but I'm not so sure.
I do know what you mean.
You have some experience with it.
I guess I feel, no, I mean, to me, I love acting more than I have in a really long time. So to get the opportunity to work again with Chris is, to me, the most exciting thing, the thing I only focused on the most. And I feel like almost at this point, it does feel a little bit like anything I do or say that's remotely public leads to
nuclear war,
a certain thing. So I know for me, I just do my best to ignore it and hold on to what I know is true and the joy I get to feel now. And I just want to keep showing up and hopefully doing good work,
Does acting feel new to you? I mean, you just referenced like you love it more now than you have in a really long time. Like, why is that? Does it feel new for you now?
I don't know if the word is, I mean, it was a new experience how I felt walking onto the set of the Odyssey than how I felt walking onto the set of Inception. Not that I didn't feel grateful or enjoy being a part of that movie, the challenges of that movie, working with Chris, but there was obvious, discomforts. And I think, for me, I think what feels exciting is I do feel embodied in a way where I'm like, I feel like I'll maybe do some of my best work, like I feel more and not having to sort of work through something, work through a discomfort to get to the core and the presence of where you need to be when you're on a set, And so that to me is what's new and exciting.
This is so profound actually coming from an actor because, so much of the charge about transness and trans people is that trans people are pretending to be something or acting to be. And what you're talking about is the exact opposite, right? That you are actually able to inhabit and be who you are, that there's no sense of discomfort or separation because you're actually being yourself when you're walking onto the set now. What, as an artist, like everyone says that that you bring something to the role and you take away something from the role. What are you taking away from Sign On and what do you think you brought to it? Like, why did Christopher Nolan ask you to do it? There's a reason why. There's something that he thought you were going to bring to that character.
I don't know. I mean, that would be a better question for Chris, of course.
Okay, we'll call him up and ask him.
Let's tell he doesn't text, I don't think.
Well.
But I think maybe Chris thought that, there's not tons of time with this character and we really need to sort of deeply empathize and feel for this character and the sacrifice they've made and the loss that's happened to them, and Odysseus having to sort of be faced by the reality of this loss and his lies and all of these things. And potentially he thought that I was able to bring that in those moments.
Yeah, because like if you haven't confronted yourself, it's hard to play confronting yourself, I would imagine. Like if you've never done that on some level in your life, you know what I mean?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So you can like show that. Is there anything that sticks with you from him? Or no? Like you walked off the set and you were like done and dusted.
I mean, stuff must always stick with you. I don't know if it's so much necessarily even the character specifically, but just the entirety of the experience that, and, the various challenges that come with making anything, but, particularly on a Chris Nolan film, which are typically like physically intense and you're in the elements and you're going. I mean, I love it. Like to me, it's exhilarating and it's the best, but I think it probably comes more from the entirety experience what I take away.
And it doesn't look CGI heavy, like
absolutely not. It's like the Cyclops sequence is probably one of my favorite things in the film, and that's a goddamn puppet.
What? Because
they really shot in a cave, and when you see a giant hand coming in and grabbing a dude, like that's an actual it's it's the same with making Inception. I think I was barely ever in front of a green screen. Like almost everything you're seeing is practical. Like Leo and I are really walking on a thing that twists to make it look like we're walking up a wall. There really was a train in downtown Los Angeles that like was, barreling through, and like that's how Chris does things. Yeah. It's pretty unbelievable. Like especially these big wide shots of these old ships out in the middle of the sea. It's pretty incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you happen to know why they may have kept your character a secret for such a long time, fueling wild speculation?
I think on some level because it was felt because you haven't seen the movie yet, so I would be spoiling some things for you right now, if that's okay.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's because, my character's at the beginning, I die immediately. Later, when I appear in Hades, you learn, not just that my character wasn't aware that Odysseus and these other soldiers were in this horse and what the ultimate plan was. Mm-hmm. But also you learn, for example, that, Antinous was chosen in the lottery to go to war. And Sinon actually wasn't. And my character says, I will go instead if you stay and take care of my father, who was living in, poverty, and I grew up in poverty. And then the reveal is in Hades that did not happen. And, my father ended up begging for scraps from people like Antinous is one of the lines in that scene. So it reveals, it's sort of spoilery in terms of revealing these various plot points that don't even just relate to my character specifically, but also Antinous and his actions and the lies he's been telling about why he didn't join the war.
Right. It gives away a lot.
I guess. Yeah.
There's, let's not give away a lot.
Yeah.
I would have liked to have seen you as Achilles, but, maybe next time.
Well, Tim, I'll make that's my next film.
Directed by Christopher Nolan,
yeah.
Achilles.
Totally.
Yes, news to everyone. PR for the film is probably being revived. It turns out currently.
Chris is making Troy, and I'm the lead. You got what you wished for.
Yes, amazing. A crowd favorite. We kind of touched upon this already, but I'm just curious at this particular point, is there anything now that because it's one thing when you've been in the movie yourself, because you don't really see it, and then you've seen it several times being kind of, and seen it with audiences. What, after those two experiences together, what do you hope that audiences are taking away from it? Or what's your impression of what's sticking with people, if that's different?
Good question. I guess I feel like I haven't had enough sort of post-movie conversations to know what's necessarily sticking with people. I think what sticks with me in the ending is its comments on, the brutalities of war, the lies people tell to go to war, the sacrifices that certain people have to make in terms of war. And so in regards to everything going on in our world right now, I think that is a very, powerful element of it, and how it's been, made to relate to modern times.
Yeah. And that, even the victors can end up dining on ashes, right?
Yes.
So hopeful. No, but also realistic. We need realistic art. Like, this is one of the problems. Let's talk about Second Nature, which is so fantastic. I think it ought to be shown in like high schools all across America, because one of the things that you do is correcting biology in that. Why do you think that it's really important for people to understand the queerness of the animal world and of biology itself? That when we say biological, it actually means more than what people think it means.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important because I feel in so many ways, the natural world and what we learn in biology class, and in terms of it seemingly being this cis heteropatriarchal system, is, I don't know, however we'd say that, is, I feel, used against queer and trans people in terms of us being made to seem maladaptive. There's something wrong with us. We're
not real, we're fake.
Or we're some modern thing, which is, of course, we know that's not true. We've been, everywhere forever, and I think, it's so important because it becomes so clear that, we're told and taught stories by those in power to uphold a status quo that serves very, very few. And I don't even think it serves those very few if we want to get into a deeper philosophical question, conversation about it. And in knowing that, this work that incredible evolutionary biologists have done, and, Joan Roughgarden's book, Evolution's Rainbow, just show the degree of, queerness, gender and sexuality, diversity in nature, I think is an example of how we're not told the truth for obvious reasons,
I mean, it's just so clear that, like, what it makes clear is that what we've been told, that there are only two sexes, that there are only two that exist in nature. I mean, that proves that we, as queer people, are unnatural, is a lie. Like, it's not only that it's not true, it's a lie. It's something that's been cultivated through scientists not telling the whole story. For example, one of the things that you narrate is, how there are thousands of species that show a range of queerness, including what we would call transness, with the ability to be able to change so-called biological sex. Like, that it's much more expansive than we've ever been allowed to see.
Absolutely. It's so much more expansive in terms of gender and sexuality, and also in terms of other systems and ways of being, whether it's, bonobos, which are matriarchal, for example, and how we're taught about, gender roles in regards to humans, but also in regards to nature, and told that, males are aggressive and it's dominant, forceful ones, and females are the, weak, submissive ones, and all of these things that are simply just not true and actually not what nature reflects. And this documentary, I think, is, beautiful, not in how it shares all this incredible information and research by these amazing scientists, but also how we've ended up in a situation where this information has been so suppressed.
Mm-hmm. And I think erased.
Yeah, no, literally, literally erased. Yeah, literally erased. Yeah.
Because like you're talking about the way in which like the biologist and the naturalist that crafted early observations of the animal world just literally chose not to write about the things that they were seeing.
Absolutely. Or like, I love when Dr. Joan Roughgarden makes this comment in the movie where she remembers she was watching, I think it was two lions, and they were having, same-sex activity was going on. Mm-hmm. And she said something about it to someone else who was like, no, that's not what's happening. And that doesn't happen. And she's like, it was so fascinating to be watching something that was happening right in front of my eyes and being told that it wasn't happening. And to me, that just this shows the power of not only the erasure of that information, but who gets in the position to even be doing the research and the looking, and how that influences the results.
Yeah, it's pretty frightening. I mean, that's like the ultimate gaslight, is for you to be looking at something totally. And then someone's like, what you're seeing is not what you're seeing.
Totally. I mean, it's the same with, so much of the stuff that comes at me. It's just like, you don't even know who I am. It's just like, I feel like as trans people, we're just constantly being gaslit by people, and it's baffling.
Yeah. And it's so fast. I mean, well, one, they don't listen to us, right? Like,
sure.
Because if you listen to us, the other thing is how the key thing is that you don't understand that the thing that you saw before or knew before, that's the thing that didn't exist, right? Like that was the thing that was actually being, but because it fit into what you wanted to believe, you somehow trust something that's not true. It's like, I don't know, really fascinating psychology to me. For you personally, what was the thing that you took away from this film that changed your mind, either in animal or relationships or your own fundamental understanding of the biological world?
Well, a big takeaway I had was I felt so silly for not assuming this all to be true before. I was just like, oh my God, Elliot. And
we're so indoctrinated, though.
We're so indoctrinated. And so to me, it was so exciting and expansive. And I did find it really affirming. And in regards to the specific stories, one thing that just really stuck with me is there's a story about this group of, this is a little different than, gender and sexuality, but to me, it all relates. This group of baboons that discovered this garbage dump. And all of the alpha males fought everybody away and hoarded the food in this garbage dump. Then they all ended up getting tuberculosis and dying. It's really fatal, I guess, for baboons. So then this group of the society of baboons was left without their alpha males. And what happened was they completely restructured how they did things. It became way more cooperative, way less violent, and has maintained through generations. That really resonated with me, this like ability for these primates to actually go, hey, this like new system and this new structure of being that is less about this group of alphas dominating everyone and we're being, collaborative with each other and more peaceful is the way we want to go. That really resonated with me. And another part that I loved is the film follows what we'd probably call a genderqueer chimpanzee. And the researcher who, has studied these chimpanzees for a long time, he said, there's always been like one or two in different, groups of chimpanzees that are, genderqueer and what have you. And he said that not once has he ever seen them be treated any differently. He's like, tolerated any less. And he was like, the only species that seems to do that is human beings. And that also really, really stuck with me. And so I think both things to me are in many ways about possibilities and new possibilities. And I think, of course, as trans and genderqueer people, that is something we offer, which I think is so beautiful and exciting. And of course, on some level, it does threaten a status quo that is harmful and is about dominance and control. And so, I would say those are parts of the documentary that have really stuck with me.
I mean, one, the baboon story shows that we're not the only ones that have culture.
Absolutely,
right?
yes.
That's a cultural change in terms of like how they've decided to organize the society. And that way of being is actually passed down through a set of practices, norms, learned behavior that are passed down, right? Because you could have a society where sort of alpha males would reassert themselves, but they've somehow changed their society culturally, right? Where that doesn't happen. And so in that, I think, is actually hope, right? There actually is hope for us to be able to change and to reimagine society, and for, the people who are not a part of the dominant group to actually have a role in the future, right? I think that's something for us to be able to just hold on to right now. Like, those other people can spin themselves out,
Totally.
Have at it, like be Odysseus, dine on ashes, destroy the world. And it's not going to get you very far. And then secondly, that other story about chimpanzees, you reminded me of a story. There's a chimpanzee who was born female, but then basically lived in the male group and was totally accepted. Like when their behavior changed, it didn't have anything to do with like biology or genitalia. If you were arguing that animals, right, know that there's this duality and separation, and that everything in the animal world is natural in terms of two genders and two sexes, then that shouldn't be possible. But, this animal who was born,
Donna, I believe.
Yes, born female, that's right. And then was like
embraced
accepted.
by the
totally
alpha.
Totally embraced.
Their hair grew longer,
that's right.
to embody more of how really.
That's right.
And this is, the part where he said, Donna was completely accepted, and that's all this researcher has ever seen.
That's right.
And it's human beings are the only species that are, ridiculous enough to seem to have a huge problem with trans folks.
Yeah.
It's like...
I mean, one of the things I think about all the time, actually, it's one of the ways in which these two topics, this documentary and the feature relate, is that, like, what if the story that we tell ourselves is that human beings are more advanced because we're smarter? May not be true. Maybe we're just more cruel, right? Like that's how we became dominant, is not because I
think about that, in terms of animals or even just like plants or trees. Like trees are like smart as fuck, and literally are like taking in carbon dioxide to give us oxygen. They communicate with each other.
Networks,
like
take care of each other when they're sick.
Absolutely. And, or I think of like, and I just, I think our degree of how we think about intelligence is potentially a inaccurate way of looking at it all.
Very limited. It's always,
especially considering we're literally destroying the earth with, in terms of the climate crisis and what have you. You know?
Exactly. Days and days of, parts of the United States covered in smog and smoke, literally burning the place down in order to turn a profit. Was it an outlet for your creativity in a different way? Like being a part of a documentary?
Yeah, I've really I co-directed a documentary years ago and made a documentary show years ago. And I really do enjoy I guess nonfiction filmmaking, and being in particular like behind the camera, and so that's been a joy. I mean, I just was lucky to be a part of it. Drew spent years and years and years making this film, and luckily a mutual friend connected us, and she asked if I'd be a part of the project, and just kind of the last couple of years helped it get finished and finalized. And I'm just lucky to be a part of it.
Are you naturally an introvert?
Yes. Why did you say that?
I don't know, because you became really passionate when you said the words behind the camera, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then I'm like, okay, well, you picked the wrong job, Elliot. Like,
I know. The thing is, I think like the actual acting part, it's because like in terms of, I'll do anything in front of a camera, like pretty much, you know, like I don't get nervous. And I think it's because there's an egolessness to it because it's not you and you're creating something else. And in that space, I'll do whatever. Yeah. But I'd say in my life, yes, I'm more of an introvert. I'd say I'm a bit of a shy person, maybe. Not always, but yeah, my girlfriend would be like, Elliot, you're an introvert. You know, like I'm a bit of an introvert. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll trust her.
Yeah.
Like, actually, speaking of which, I mean, you both are actors, right? And, you know, everyone talks about how hard it is in Hollywood right now for actors, and kind of like the difficulty of making a living.
Getting a job. Yeah.
Yeah. Getting a job, making a living.
Yeah.
How is that for two actors in a relationship? Like, I mean, because that, you know what I mean? It would be like two people who are in a fishing village and the fishing industry is coming under stress. Like, how do you negotiate that? I
mean, it is like kind of, an intense reality, I think, for so many people working in the film and television industry, in regards to, the lack of work and opportunity right now. I think for both of us, because she's, you know, a comedian and she has stand-up and she's an amazing writer. Like she has this superb feature script that I really want to see get made because it's so good. So, you know, she's working on developing that right now.
You better champion your girlfriend.
Oh, I mean, it's awesome. It's called Both. It's so funny. So I'm really excited for that eventually to get made and for people to see. And then with, you know, with Page Boy Productions and, you know, developing projects and making shows and things like that. So I feel like there's other ways to feel, you know, work's happening, staying busy, you know, moving things along, throwing things at the wall, seeing what sticks, you know. So, you know, focusing on that a lot right now.
Lastly, on that particular point around finding ways to make it, I'm wondering what insights, advice you have for trans actors in this moment, because not only would a trans actor be facing the normal, really difficult climate for actors right now, but on top of that, you know, the terrible climate overall for trans people and the fact that there are diminishing roles for trans characters for the past several years. So, I mean, what are ways that trans actors can thrive right now?
I think in whatever way people can is to take as much like agency over your work as you can. You know, if you're a writer or you're interested in writing, you know, write your own work potentially, or, you know, whether it's a short film or a different idea that you have, or connect with other creative friends to like make things together. You know, it's hard to know what advice to give because the reality is it is hard right now. Mm-hmm. It's a difficult time. And so I'd say it's about like finding community and like making things together, because everyone's having a challenge getting television shows on the air, getting anything off the ground right now. And, you know, on top of that, obviously when we're in this climate we're in right now in regards to, you know, attacks against our community, I'd be lying if I said it's not a really difficult time in that way. So I'd say people, you know, I know who are actors and creators are really working on finding avenues and ways to create their own work. And, you know, I'd say would be like a good focus, and getting through this period that's rough. But I do think at the end of the day, queer and trans liberation and love will win in the end. And we're just in an extremely difficult time. And change isn't always a linear thing. And
it is not linear.
No.
Yeah.
I will say I just read, Thomas Page McBee, his new book called Trans Time, which doesn't come out till January. But it's really beautiful and gorgeous. And it just came into my mind because it just has so much to do with the cycles of like visibility and repression and not being linear throughout American history in general. And it's really exquisite. And I'm just like so excited for it to be out in the world.
Well, thanks for giving us a recommendation for a future guest.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you should have Thomas on about, that book and many things. He's so brilliant. I adore him.
Well, thank you so much for coming by and, letting the introvert stand aside and for being a part of such a interesting and heartfelt conversation. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
Now both films and also, New York Times bestseller. And we look forward to, the future blockbuster Achilles directed by Christopher Nolan. I can't wait for that to get into a tabloid that Elliot Page says that Achilles will be directed by Christopher Nolan. It's going to be fun. Thank you for joining me on the Translash podcast. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and hit that notifications bell so that you never miss an episode. So there's so many possible favorite moments or my takes on this conversation because it was 3 conversations in one. But for me, the one that stands out is where Elliot talked about being able to walk on set and to be able to walk on set as themselves. In this case, in armor and in a full-on costume, and to be able to connect with the character. And, that is actually what transness is about, that essence of actually being authentically who you are, not being something that you're not, but being who you are. And kind of ran through our conversation, right? When we were talking about second nature, what's actually real in nature versus the impositions that we're putting on there and just making stuff up to suit hierarchies, and then being authentically yourself as an artist, trans artist, when, all of that is coming under attack. So that's my take. That's kind of my favorite moment because I could actually see it, them strutting on. It was kind of cool. How about you? Let us know. Put it in the comments.